From 1908 through to the end of 1915, locomotives from Eveleigh Works were fitted with 10-inch wide bronze oval plates like the one shown here. Over this time, Eveleigh constructed members of the 20, 30, 32 and 53 classes, as well as the 5 members of the 34 class and the first 24-35 class locomotives. A builder's number was not shown on each plate, only the year of production, which has made it difficult to determine exactly which locomotive a plate is off. For locomotives with tenders, 4 plates were cast, one being attached to each side of the engine and tender. The location on the engine for the plates was either the cab sides or on the sides of the sandboxes. Tank engines carried 2 plates, usually on each side of the cab, but sometimes right on the centre of each side tank. It's quite clear from photographic evidence that most of the plates fitted to the engines were removed over time, but the plates on the tenders usually managed to survive until the tender was scrapped. The New South Wales Railways workshops had a policy of melting down any brass items off locomotives that were no longer needed, the metal being recycled into parts such as cabside numbers, whistle bells and so on. It was not until the early 1960s, when collecting builders' plates became more popular, that the railways began to salvage plates for sale, and by then it was mainly only the plates off tenders that had survived, especially from older classes of locomotives. Fortunately, it was recorded that the plate shown here came off tender tab number 922. These numbers were cast on small oval plates which were attached to tenders when they first entered service and identified which locomotive the tender was built with. In this case, the tender was built for 3385. At the time the tender was scrapped, it carried the loco number 3239, which was the last engine it was paired with. Quite often it was the loco number painted on the tender and not the tender tab number that was recorded as being the locomotive the plate belonged to, which obviously is incorrect. With this plate, if the tender tab had not been recorded, it would not be known for sure which of the 18 or so locomotives built by Eveleigh Works in 1911 actually carried the plate. An unusual exception occurred with the plates cast for the first 24 members of the 35 class. These plates did have a number, but it wasn't the builder's number, it was the road number allocated to the locomotive, in this case 1036, which was later renumbered to become 3510. In 1916, the style of the plate changed to a large 14-inch wide shield. The example shown here is from the tender of 3526, again identified by the tender tab number. Locomotive 3526 is preserved, but not with its original tender. Eveleigh Works built the first 10 members of the 36 class. Each locomotive carried 4 plates, one on either side of the cab and tender. Most of the cab plates were lost when the class was rebuilt in the early 1950s, so this 1926 plate is probably off one of the tenders built for either 3605, 3606, 3607 or 3608. Scratched on the rear is 3606, but that cannot be considered as conclusive proof of origin. In the 1940s, the plates again changed to reflect the fact that the railway's ability to build steam locomotives had expanded to other locations as well as Eveleigh. The plates were now an 11.5-inch wide oval, cast in aluminium, with the builder shown as the Department of Railways, New South Wales. 4 plates were placed on each of the 25 non-streamlined 38s and the 13 58s, one on either side of the cab and tender. These 38 class plates can show the year as 1945 to 1949, while the 58s can be 1949 to 1952. The 58s were scrapped during the early 1960s and most of the builders' plates were saved. Scrapping of the 38s began in the late 1960s and by then their builders' plates were highly sought after. If acquired legally, each plate came with documentation stating exactly which loco the plate was from and where it had been fitted. This plate is off the driver's side of 3816's cab. Some very good reproductions of 38 class plates are in circulation, but there is an easy way of identifying the real thing. On the rear of authentic plates, you should be able to make out a faint trace of the pattern number used to create the plate. There should also be 4 threaded holes with obvious signs of use where the mounting studs were screwed in.